Good morning, friends of the media. Good morning, Tobago. Good morning, Trinidad. I am Watson Solomon Duke, political leader of the Progressive Democratic Patriots, and I'm here today to speak on the 2024 Tobago Carnival. Yes, Tobago Carnival 2024. I'm speaking from our head office in Tobago, Port Mall, Level 3. Allow me to say that the Tobago Carnival 2024 deserves a round of applause. Personally, I would have attended a few events, and I must say it was something that we can boast about. Those were good events. Yeah, I took a journey into Scarborough on the Saturday and the Sunday, and I observed, and what I saw was a celebration on the streets. So yes, Tobago Carnival was successful in a number of ways. When I look at the reports coming from Mr. Sandy, he is the interim president of the October Carnival Association. He said that during the period, there were over 30,000 persons coming to Tobago for the festivities. When I also look at the report coming from the gold commander of the Tobago Carnival, that is ACP Hazel, he also referred to 37.5 thousand visitors coming to Tobago, and it is something that raises the eyebrows and say, wow, people really coming to Tobago for the Carnival. But we have to consider what those figures were really based on. Those figures was based on the number of arrivals based on the fast ferry and the airline. But let's understand this, Tobago. Here is the trickiness. You cannot distinguish between persons who are coming home and visitors. Everyone cannot be classified as visitors. So I think there needs to be some disaggregation between those who are coming home to Tobago and visitors who are coming to spend. Every visitor who comes to an island, whether it be a local visitor or it be a foreign visitor from another continent, another island, there is something we call an average tourist spend. Yeah? If it is an international tourist, based on the figures attached to Trinidad and Tobago, he's expected to spend at least $150 to $300 US per day. He's expected to spend that money. If it's a local tourist, like from Trinidad, as the case may be, he or she's expected to spend between $100 and $200 US per day. If we were to look at it, we would expect that the Tobago Carnival would redound based on the figure of 30,000 persons visiting. If we were to use that figure, and we use an average of 1,000 TT, not the US now, but TT per day, we will come up with $30 million. Yeah? So it would have meant to us who are into mathematics and calculation that 30,000 persons, based on Mr. Sandy, who is the interim president for the October Carnival Association, if he said 30,000 and the ACP gold standard commander, ACP Hazel, said 37.5 thousand persons, let's take the lowest figure and let's take a median figure. 1,000 TT dollars, right, by 30,000 visitors to the island would redound to Tobago being $30 million richer. Therefore, the investment of $9 million TT dollars into the carnival would have made appropriate sense. We need to dissect this thing, and we need to look at this thing properly, because governance is not about skinning your teeth and waving your flag and saying nice. It's about reporting to the people of Tobago how their monies were spent. And I'm yet to see a proper report from the Secretary of Tourism or the Chief Secretary. He came back and he's in hiding. He has not reported to the media, nor given an account of his stewardship, nor his colleagues' stewardship. Nevertheless, the Progressive Democratic Patriots will continue to keep Tobagonians and Trinidadians and the wider world up to date. We know persons are checking their monies in the hotels, in the villas, in the guest houses, to which we have the Oxford Business Group, who did a research on Tobago around the year 2016 to 2017, and they said that the number of rooms on the island then was about 4,000. So let's add 1,000 rooms to that, because we have grown. Let's say there are 5,000 rooms on the island currently now, and the Secretary for Tourism is yet to see how many rooms are currently on the island and where she got the statistics from. She's yet to comment on that. But they are claiming 30,000 persons to 37.5 thousand came to Tobago. If they were to stay in those rooms, someone needs to tell me where the others stayed. If 30,000 persons came to Tobago and there are 4,000, let's say 5,000 rooms, by the widest stretch of our imagination, where did the 25,000 persons stay? In Tobago, people do not make extra rooms and put down anymore. They're either bed and breakfast rooms, Airbnb, they're either rental to a long-term tenant, but people do not have the luxury in Tobago to just put down rooms for a family to come from Trinidad. All right? And gone are the days when children will take the ground and get family the bed. That's done. That's ended in my generation. It's a new generation now, Generation Z. So let's get the facts right. Where did it, in the case of 30,000 visitors coming to Tobago, where did the 25,000 persons stay? Somebody need to speak about that, because we're speaking about tourism and hospitality. Yeah? And we did not see vagrancy improved or increase in Tobago during the time. So if those persons came, where did they stay? If 37,500 persons came, according to the ACP Hazel, the Gold Standard Commander, where did the 32.5 thousand persons stay? Where did they stay? Tobago need to answer that question if we are to really assess the success of our carnival. What type of rooms the 25 to 32.5 thousand stayed in, if there were rooms at all. Or are those figures made up figures? Are those figures guess figures that are not accurate? Are those figures where they did no dissecting, no disaggregating from the Tobagonians as against the visitors? That's a question that we need to ask. I've listened to Gypsy, I think the chairman of the Carnival Commission. That's what he is. I think he's still the chairman, but he's attached to the National Commission of Carnival, right, Gypsy? Right, a very famous Calypsonian, and he had been here for the entire season looking at things and rating things. And I would want to say he would have rated the Carnival an 8.5. That's a very good rating. He would have rated the Carnival. But upon what did we rate the Carnival? I've heard some good calypsos. I've seen some good mass. I've seen persons enjoying themselves. I've seen persons in the private sector, a small make-believe, I would say, a make-up private sector people, not full-time, selling food on the road, snow cone on the road. They would have made some money in the private sector. Micro businesses, I would call them. And I asked them, how is sales going? Some would say it's going good. Some would say it's not going so good. who were the real winners in Tobago Carnival? Who were the real losers? I've also heard a particular band from Trinidad received a lot of subsidy. Subsidy with who money? Tobago money. You cannot take Tobago money and give it to any Trinidad Carnival band subsidizing their costumes. None. As a matter of fact, let's do the math again. I've asked around, and some costumes were as much as $4,000, $5,000. You can imagine, if 1,000 of those costumes sold, we had in excess of 30,000 visitors coming to Carnival. If 1,000 played mass with that big time band that came from Trinidad, and that costume was $4,000, right away that's $4 million. So don't tell me that there's no money in Carnival. We had Gypsy again, the man who's associated with National Carnival Commission, stating that if Carnival was to be run by a private sector, the private sector would literally become a billionaire company in a very short time. It's a $1 billion industry. But what Carnival are we projecting as Tobago Carnival? Let me say this. I heard mass band leader Ned, Miss Ned, stating that she catered for 300 persons in her band, and she got less than 40. That, to me, marks a loss, a screeching halt, and we have to stop and ponder. Here we have a mass band leader who has been accustomed to the cut and thrust of Carnival, creating 300 costumes. We have in excess of 30,000 visitors on the island. Mrs. Ned said she went to Tobago Day in New York. She went around with the bus in Trinidad and all around the place. She put her thing up on social media. 300 costumes. And she got less than 40 persons. Wow. How could we therefore celebrate and say that Carnival was good? Entertainment is always nice. Yeah? Music is always nice. And when boy meets girl, girl meets boy, it's always nice. But when we look at the economics of our Carnival, which is important to the serious thinkers of Tobago, it was not nice. A famous band leader, Miss Ned, she catered for 300 persons, created those costumes, saying, well, yes, she got less than 40 sold. What does she do with the rest? Will the THA compensate her? I met one of the band leaders from my district, Roxborough Argyle, I wouldn't call her name, and she looked distressed. I said, what's happening? How the Carnival going? She said, but I done with that. I'm not playing any Carnival again next year. And this is a person who would have won several titles in the previous years. So let's get it straight. Carnival is more than wine and jam, drinking beer, getting drunk, and skinning the teeth. There is an economic cost to Tobago's Carnival. And who is paying it is important. It is people like you and me, the rank and file, that must pay that cost. The first Carnival cost us $17.5 million. That's when they brought down Burna Boy. I never knew Burna Boy was into Carnival. They lost their head. The second Carnival, $12.5 million. And it will be better. It did not work again. And this Carnival, the third one, $9 million. Some folks said it was the best. You may have had the best time, but there are persons in Tobago today that did not have a best time, and it has left a sour taste in their mouth like milk that has turned. Let me tell you some of the failures. Let's look at the Scarborough Hospital. That $9 million could have been used for buying life-saving drugs. There are people who go to the hospital and can't even get a Panadol. a Panadol or pain relieving medication. That's a serious issue for Tobagonians. Yeah? Also, we look at the OGYN department, where we have had for this year a level of unprecedented stillbirths, infant mortality, and maternal mortality. That is, mothers who have died giving birth to children. We have an unprecedented spike in it this year. We cannot say $9 million was well spent and Tobago Carnival was a success unless we take a reality check. How well is our hospital doing? We spent $9 million to frolic, but how well is the people on Tobago doing? As far as I understand, the carnival was really a Trinidad carnival planted in Tobago. We have no problem with that. No problem with that. But they must tell us what was the average spend of the persons who came up, how many Trinidadians came up to the carnival as those who came up normally to vacation, because on the average weekend, people come to Tobago to rest and recalibrate and reflect and all these type of nice things. On the average weekend, it's difficult to get planes on the average weekend. What made it so much so that 37.5 thousand persons came to Tobago, and those persons translate into money circulated around the carnival and not around any other thing? Let's have a serious conversation, Tobago. We have cancer is spiraling out of control in Tobago, and the chemotherapy sessions that they are having in the hospitals seems not to be working. People are dying from cancer. I've been to many funerals this year, and I could tell you, half of the persons' funerals I've been to have died from cancer, both young and old. Cancer is killing people in Tobago. How could we have spent that $9 million insofar as fixing the cancer issue that is getting out of control in Tobago? We look at high blood pressure. High blood pressure is killing people. Renal failure is killing people. Diabetes is killing people. How could that $9 million be used to save Tobagonians' lives? Folks, governance is not a gip issue. It's not a ha-ha issue. It's a serious issue. And I want Tobagonians to know, if those inside the THA are sleeping on the job, if they are whining and going down low, there is someone who is wide awake. And Tobago must win. All our way have to win. I go further in my analysis of this carnival. We have a lack of timely remuneration during the carnival seasons. I had to fight for the CPEP workers to get their pay. Many of them told me thanks. But what slipped through the cracks was the URP workers. They slipped through the cracks. Many of them did not receive pay during the carnival season. And also, under the division of works also, we call it infrastructure. Someone came to my office as recent as yesterday, several persons in fact, saying to me that the sanitation workers in works did not receive their pay last fortnight. They went on further to say that they have not been receiving their pay when they should, since this group have taken over. I know it's more than political, because when you hit a man with his mortgage, it's real. When you hit a man with his car payments, it is real. When you hit a man where his children is concerned, it is not politics. It is reality. And I challenge the Tobago House of Assembly, led by Farley Augustine, to do better in the eyes of Tobagonians. Let's not have our carnival become a charade for Trinidadians and people in the Caribbean. They say, well, yes, it was a success, where they grab media headlines. I even see where the minority leader, Kelvin Morris, said it was a success. I know that their big party was a success. I was there. I went to observe. I'm an observer of how Tobagonians are living in these times. I go to places, not to wine and jam, but to observe. And I sit and I observe. They throw a good P&M fete. Yes, it was a good P&M fete. But that gave the minority leader no right to say that Carnival was a success. Maybe they have dropped the ball too, and they have forgotten the poor old lady who is still trying to sell her hand of banana and can't get it sold. Perhaps they are forgetting that the fishermen with the oil spill have not yet benefited from their loss during that period of time. Maybe he has forgotten the people from Tadco who have gone home and have not gotten any jobs, and this Carnival season cannot compensate for the loss they have had. Maybe they have forgotten the CPEP workers who have been retrenched en masse. Over 400 of them have to grapple with the reality of paying their bills. Maybe the PNM has forgotten, but the PDP has not forgotten. And I came to say today that people are still owing their pay from since last week, and that needs to be addressed. You spent $9 million. I want to know that money went into the pockets of Tobagonians and not let we fog up the place. But not that at all, because some folks came and they fog up the place at the expense of Tobagonians' subsidy. And so I asked a question about the mortgage payments this morning. Who are paying those mortgage payments? When we go to Blue Food Festival in Bloody Bay, I was there. Yes, as an observer, a man of the ground. I go where my people are, and I make no bones about that. Wherever there's a Tobago activity, I will show up, observe. You will never see me frolicking, because I know it's serious business there. In the Blue Food Festival, they gave us the impression all was well. But all was not well in Bloody Bay. All was not well in Lansome. All is not well in Palatavere. All is not well in Castara. Those are the areas on that northern side that tend to benefit from Blue Food. We have persons outside coming in and sell food. And those inside can't get a tent to rent. The only place they patch was right in front of the Blue Food. But that Bloody Bay to Roxborough Road needs paving, it needs patching. It has been left unattended. But again, 9 million spent for Carnival, and how much millions spent for Blue Food. But there was no real success for the people living within the North Side area. 9 million spent for Carnival, but there was no real success for Tobagonians, because the mass band leader said she catered for 300 and got less than 40 sold. My people, what happened in the Tobago Carnival reminds me very much of a story I read some years ago about the Colosseum built in Rome. It was built during a time of hardship and poverty, when the lower class and the underclass were seething with anger and disgust for the upper class. And so the Roman generals, and call them whatever you may, the Caesars or whatever, they decided then they will create a Colosseum and bring in gladiators to fight. And full the gladiators, full the Colosseum with spectators. And they will be singing and dancing, and they will give them bread when they come to the Colosseum. You know what I'm talking about. When I saw what's happening on Carnival Monday and Tuesday, all I saw was the THA creating their own Colosseum to distract the masses from what's happening. In Tobago, poverty is rife. There are people waking up this morning who have nothing to put on their table for their children. Many people come through the doors of the PDP with their problems. One woman told me she has 5 children living in a house, and all of them sleeping on one bed. When the daytime comes, she gives her children nothing but a bottle of frozen ice water taken from the taps. She's working CPEP. Tough. She said, and you know what, Watson? I campaign with all you. And they can't say about me. She has to pay her rent. Think about that. I could go on and on with horror stories. But now is not the time for horror stories. Now is the time to say to the THA, led by Farley Augustine, what are you going to do with the remaining months you have in office? I hear that they're going to want to have Carnival for 4 days now. Make it more intense. Make us more laughable. Give the Trinidad bands more money to play Tobago Mass, as they are giving the Trinidad contractors more money to do work in Tobago, while the contractors in Tobago are given small jobs to occupy their time with late pay. Tobago is not a coliseum. I want to say that outright and with all my authority. Tobago is not a coliseum. It is not a thing whereby the THA can use it for activities, entertainment. It's a Tobago Carnival. Just now is National Carnival. Just now is this fete, that fete. And every time is a fete. Tobago have real people with real needs. And they are looking for real socio-economic changes to their own personal circumstances. I want to say today to my Chief Secretary, who has just flown in over the weekend, Sunday I think it was, he flown in on Sunday, high and mighty, from being part of a brainstorming team. It's almost ridiculous that we have a Chief Secretary who we regard as the highest public official on the island of Tobago, leaving here at the invitation of somebody in Brazil, going to Sao Paulo. That's about almost 9 hours flight. Going to Sao Paulo to be part of a brainstorming exercise for some G20 thing coming up. Since when our Chief Secretary is a cog in the wheel, just adding up numbers? What was the benefit of that to Tobago? It was for educational practitioners. You are not into education right now. Why not send the Secretary for Education or the administrator alone? Why you had to go? Is it that he used the Sao Paulo brainstorming event as a camp affair to escape the carnival? But you created the Tobago Carnival. You created it. He was not here. Flew back in on Sunday. And far as I understand, they are already packing their bags to fly out again. Yeah. And the Chief Secretary must come clean and tell Tobago whether our money is for him to fly all about the place while people are suffering here, while people can't get paid. And I'm told by the farmers, I'm told by the farmers in Tobago that they have no access road. The farmers in Corland, no access road. The farmers in Argyle, the farmers in Bleming, the farmers in Mount St. George, the farmers throughout Tobago, Mariah, Mason Hall, wherever there are farmers, Dallaford, Charlottesville, no proper access road has been built. And they are not cleaning the proper access road for farmers. So how are they talking food sustainability? You're off again, flying off to world travel market. Nothing came out of that. Hobnobbing, meeting people, eating steak and drinking fancy liquor, taking photo ops, saying we get our next thing again from world travel something. Tobagonians are not into those games. I'm speaking here from my heart because Tobagonians are hurting. And even if you do not want the next 4 years, it does not give you the right to spend our money willy-nilly. You have to give an account. What are those trips bringing back to Tobago? You are responsible for foreign direct investments. What direct investment from foreign we got here so far? None. 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 As I conclude here my press conference, I say Tobago must win. All are we have to win. And do not think that you have the full 4 years there. No. You may be surprised to note that you may be out of office before the 4 years is finished. Because the way Tobagonians are seething with anger and resentment towards your administration, do not think there may be a next carnival unless you address the issues in Tobago. You must address the hunger, starvation, and unemployment issues. Right outside my office, I met two young, brilliant ladies. They came from Bishops. Finished advances. Dressed to the teeth. Teenagers, of course. Looking for a job. They saw me. They said, sir, could you excuse me, sir? Could you help me? I'm trying to get a job. We're applying for OJT all about. And you could see on their face disappointment. You could see on their face the sheer frustration that comes from searching and finding nothing. And I looked at them, and with tears rolling down inside of me, I said, this is how hard it is in Tobago. You can have how much advances, you can have more degrees than a thermometer. There is no place for you here in Tobago. No place for you here in Tobago. I met one guy recently. He told me a particular person from Tobago, I'm not going to say it too much description, got a medical degree and was working in the hospital. He said when he checked the person, they are working packing shelves. One woman told me her daughter has a doctorate and is now working with a construction company as a timekeeper. So why are you sending us to school? Why are you saying education is important? This is the way of escape. If you are not creating real jobs for Tobagonians when they have studied and they have come back, how many Tobagonians are working for years and cannot get job security? But you are giving the people from Trinidad Tobago security, Tobago money, $9 million put into the hands of Trinidadians to go back and frolic. Tobago, it must be nice. If it's one thing about Trinidadians, they know how to have a good time. I could tell her that. I know that. And my wife is from Trinidad. And I lived in Trinidad for a while. Trinidadians know how to have a good time. When coming to fete, they know how to fete. Lee Kuan Yew made a visit to Trinidad in the early 60s. And in speaking, he said to the Prime Minister then, Dr. Eric Williams, he said, if the people in Trinidad take this fete culture and put it into real work, Trinidad will be a success. And that is the difference between Singapore and Trinidad and Tobago. We have a lot of resources here. A lot of highly intelligent people here in Trinidad and Tobago. A lot of creative people here in Trinidad and Tobago. Good and bad. Crack cocaine was created in Trinidad, you know. Yes. Crack cocaine was created in Trinidad. Nowhere else in the world but Trinidad. The steel pan, a good thing, was created here. We are creative people. We create masks as never seen before yet. Not even Brazil Carnival could touch Trinidad Carnival. Soca, we create that. Chutney, so all these things. But when coming to creating an economic plan that is not dependent on oil and gas, we can't create that. We cannot create that. And this is our problem in Trinidad and Tobago. And more so Tobago. Because the oil and gas that is in our seas, it has been reaped by Trinidad and Tobago, which is called Trinidad. That is Trinidad and Tobago down there. It has been reaped by them. So we have no oil and gas here. We have pittance money coming across every single year. 2 million, 2.5 million. And even that money, we are giving away to Trinidad contractors. We are giving away to Trinidad mass men and mass women. You can't pay money to bring people here to fuck up the place. What happened? We have supposedly 60,000 people on the island, but it's really 40,000 people on the island. Most have gone to Trinidad to look for living. Right? And so we have no problem with Trinidadians coming here looking for living. We have no problem with that. But take care of home first. I now turn over to questions. Very clear. I want to tell you thank you very much. And if anyone is looking at this live, put your questions on the live. Because Tobago must win. I will not sit down and watch Tobago continue to lose year after year after year. And we have some false pretenders, pretending they could manage, saying they want more money. More money to do what? More money to do what? They have to tell us that. They have no ideas. They can't even manage what they are managing. $9 million spent. What do we have in Tobago to show for it? Anybody will have a good time once there's rum, money, and sexy body girl. Man will have a good time. Woman will have a good time too once there's men around. Yeah, buying drinks. But outside of that, the party is done. The day has ended. How much of us having a good time today? I thank you.